Hi, I'm Brandy Sickels, and this is Break Free Find Joy. I am not a therapist or a guru. I'm just someone who got tired of beating myself up and learned there's a better way. Here's what I've discovered: when you stop going to war with yourself and start getting curious instead, something magical happens. You finally have the energy to chase what actually matters to you. This is where we talk about breaking the cycles that keep us small and stuck so we can go after our dreams instead of just surviving them. If you're ready for that kind of freedom, you're in the right place. Let's dive in. I am so excited for today. This is my first guest interview in a very long time, and it's one of my favorite people on the planet. It's a long one, so please remember that you can up the speed or whatever to get through it faster. And no shame if you got to listen to it in chunks. So, with that, I will see you guys in a second. I hope you enjoy it. Let me know. Bye. Go. So, I'm super excited, everybody. Nate doesn't even know this, but he is my second, guest that I'm the most excited about talking to. The only one who is above him is Richard. And yes, this is a shameless poke at him to do the interview. Uh, he's
Come on, Richard.
been avoiding it, but Nate's going to be the brave soul that can show him that it's not that bad.
Yeah.
So I met Nate. I also am wearing, this wasn't super intentional, but when I realized I was wearing it this morning, I was like, hey, perfect. So this shirt is Relationships Over Revenue. It's actually a shirt from Nate and his, is it co-founder? What do you call, what is
Yeah,
it?
I guess we could, yeah,
Business owner?
co-founder. Yeah, co-founder, business partner. Yeah.
Yeah. Flip. So they have this group juice also going through changes. So I'll let him do all that stuff later. But I've known it's been like 3 years now, three, four.
Maybe longer. I mean, I remember we got on a call. This was like a
Oh,
long
yeah. It
time
was
ago.
2021.
Yeah, like I think you were at like lunch break or something. This was like right when I was like first starting to find my feet online, and then we got on a strategy session. And we chatted, and you were in your car for a little while, and then yeah. So it's been a while. Yeah, it's been a good while.
Dang. So I will say I've been in a few different groups, but the thing that was really different with Nate is that he was they it wasn't trying to put on a front with being on the online business. It wasn't super polished. It was really about, hey, create a business that you love being who you are so you don't hate it. And that's really what I was looking for, because I was still in factory work at the time and I knew that I wanted to do something different. I wanted to help people, but all the things that I have bought in previously was trying to force me in a box, and none of them felt right, and it just made me feel like all of the things that I wanted to do in life were impossible. Um, and then I think it was just I was posting. I had put out my first ever like coaching offer. I didn't have any bites, but I was just trying to start posting online and came across his reels and things. Joined his group and started what do you call that, lurking. And I was terrified to talk in any of the things. So one of the best things too at the time, and I'm excited to ask you about this, Nate, is at the time what really drew me in is you had your Facebook group and you were doing weekly lives, but you were also running challenges. So I remember actually when COVID first was going around, I you were running a challenge in your group of, I think it was like 7 days, post 7 videos, and then you, I don't remember what it was that you got it, if you did it or whatnot, but I do very well with challenges. I don't think at this point I did not know I had ADHD. So makes sense now. But I actually had COVID, but I was pushing through to do these challenges because it was just something that like made me feel productive. So my first question to you is, one, you can introduce yourself. I don't know how to explain your business right now because you guys are ebbing and flowing, but then take me through that, like your initial steps online, like why you chose to go that route with your group.
I just didn't like. How far back do you want me to go? I mean, I could go, I'm willing to talk about whatever. For those guys that
Yeah.
don't potentially know who I am, you see this ugly stranger on this video. I'm Nate. I'm from the Pacific Northwest, born and raised. Kind of grew up in Portland, Oregon, Gresham area. and then tiny town that rains 325 days a year. Moved up to Vancouver in 2006. I come from a long line of severe dysfunction and substance abuse, alcoholism, domestic violence, all that really sexy stuff that, I should share more of my testimony around that type of stuff because it could be really inspiring around that. And being like my parents, I followed down a very similar path. Growing up, I would tell you that I grew up a very sheltered life, but in the opposite of what you would think was sheltered. It was more of being surrounded by drug addicts and waking up, to go to middle school and there's 15 people in my living room and they're all doing drugs and all this type of stuff. I ended up having a ton of like severe codependent habits and abandonment issues from my mom because my mom would go in and out of jail. I was like 16 and I remember I was on the phone with this girl at the time and she was like, okay, I'll be right back. I'm going to the Walmart. And then I didn't see her again for like 8 months, right? Like it was,
Mm.
it was that type of stuff that was going on. And growing up, I literally went down the same path. I was on like a severe, I guess when I actually look at it, it was like bad attention was better than no attention. So I was always the class clown. I was always doing the most crazy, bold stuff to just get some type of attention from people. Right? That's what I craved at its core,
Hmm.
which ended up getting me around into a lot of situations. And I guess I can go deep on this, and I'll tie it all back to what you asked. Why I ended
No,
up
you're good. You're
started.
good.
So I ended up meeting a girl in middle or in high school, and she was like, the quintessential good girl, so to speak, where she had her parents were in the military. She was like, this perfect, so to speak, woman in my eyes because I came from this crazy
Mm.
family, right? So I was like, oh, I'm gonna do
Yep.
better. I'm gonna do so much better to be with this girl, right? Again, codependent habits, tendencies. So I essentially ended up changing my entire life to an extent. I ended up dropping out of school and going to this trade school and getting going to a 2 year trade school for construction. Really kind of doing this for somebody else. At the end of the day, this being 20 years ago, which is crazy to think about. Um, you know, I was doing it for her, right? I didn't have self-worth. I didn't have any of that. So it was always like somebody else was ahead of me. And like most high school relationships, it didn't end up working out. So after that, I was on a severe path of self destruction. Like, just we'll call it what it is. I was hanging out with a bunch of
Yep.
the wrong people, wrong crowds, and probably
Question
with
for
yep.
did you know at the time? I feel like this is something that confuses people, but at the time you wouldn't have said that, right? Or what did you think you were doing at the time?
I mean, at the time, it was like, you mean like the codependency or just in general?
What was your line of thinking after it didn't work out with the girl? Like you were doing all of this for her, which if you don't know, that's not a good way to change habits, everyone. I I was a very codependent person, still working on it, but what happens when that person leaves is your reason for doing all those changes is gone. Uh, but then, you went down this self-destructive path. Was that like a conscious choice?
I think if I was being 100% honest, I think there was always like this deep desire to punish myself
Mm,
because I put her on this pedestal of like who she was as a person. And I'm not taking anything away from her or anything like that, but it was like I put you on this pedestal, but I was also, let's call it what it is. I was a fucking 18-year-old piece of shit. I was a dirtbag. Like I was a dick. So you should have left me. You probably shouldn't have stayed with me for so long. Like let's just be real.
yep.
But then it was like this weird thing of like beating myself up and like punishing myself for being that way. And, you know, probably within 9 months of us breaking up, I was in prison and, doing drugs and doing all that stuff, literally following down the exact same path as my parents. And, I was always really aware of it. The first time I went, I already knew. My mom would come visit me and she'd chat with me and she's like, "Are you going to change when you get out?" And I'm like, "Probably not." That's just the reality of it. I'm not there wasn't like any type of excuses around what I was doing, which is weird. It's like I think I had so low of self-worth that I just didn't care, right? I didn't give a fuck. Like it is what it is. So I got out that first time and I made it out 54 days before I went back for 2 years. So,
You're like, I was just taking a summer break from
yeah,
prison.
yeah,
That's
no,
all.
go right back. And then I got out and things were different for a little while. For sure, things were different. I tried to do different, tried to be different, but it was like this. I was young, right? So this is the other thing too. Is like, I got out of prison, and when I think I was 22 or 23, I spent 18, 19, 20, 20, 21 all incarcerated. So it was like, I've never been to the bar, never went to did any of these things. Went crazy when I was a 21-year-old. Which, to be fair, I started young, like doing all sorts of crazy stuff. So it is what it is. Um, I ended up going to like the nightclubs and all this type of stuff, which then opened up Pandora's box for me to get back into old habits, which then created a lot of justifications of why I didn't need to change. Uh, just full transparency, like I went to prison for dealing illegal substances. Okay, that's why I went. Got in trouble multiple times for that. Like I've said over the years, selling the wrong high ticket product, so to speak. And then I got out. And for any of you guys that have been to like nightclubs, so there's a certain side of that space that could be similar to what I have already gotten in trouble for in the past, and obviously really quickly gravitated back towards doing that. And it was like a night and day experience, and this is what kept me kind of habitually in my shit, because it was like before it was growing up hanging around all these drug addicts and tweakers and whatever, they're all, stealing Cadillac converters and fucking whatever they're doing. Then I'm around
I hate I hate that I completely understand that too, because there might be some people who watch this and they're like, "What the fuck does that mean?" I'm like, "Yeah, yeah, yep, been there."
they're like, I don't have a Cadillac.
What do you mean? How do you steal a Cadillac? When they
Yeah.
notice, like, no, 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 no.
But then it became a really bad scenario for me to be in, because then it just allowed me to justify all of this BS that I was doing, because I'd go to these parties and I'd be at mansions with people who own businesses and companies, and I would help them supply party favors or whatever you want to call them, trying to not get you flagged for anything on a YouTube either.
I
So
know. So I was like, "Oh yeah, it's fine."
so and I would continue to do that. I met Kaylin's mom. Me and Kaylin's mom, we actually ended up starting to date because she worked at one of the nightclubs, and they would throw like these huge after hours parties at her house. And of course, I'm going to go to these because I would
Yeah,
do my thing,
naturally.
and I would continue to go on like that for pretty much the entirety of our relationship. And what ended up causing me to change was right after Kaylin was born. So I guess I'll back up. A couple of months before Kaylin was born, there's one person that I had this emotional attachment to growing up, and that was my grandma. I felt like she raised me. She was kind of there for me. She was my rock, so to speak. And I had this that was my the woman in my life. That was who I loved. I loved her. At times growing up, it was I would say more than my mom at times. And I was with her all the time, right? Because my mom would either work or not be around, so I would be with my grandma. And she died right before Kaylin was born, so it put me into like this downward spiral of you know even more self sabotage. And I remember it was the craziest thing where she's on her deathbed. We're at her house, and that's the last thing she said to me before. That's literally the last thing that she said to me was, "Stop self sabotaging yourself, you little fucker." And that's the last conversation I had with my grandma. And it put me into like a very dark place. Makes hindsight, I feel extremely bad for Kaylin's mom because I was not present. I was in my own fucking bullshit. I wasn't there, right? Like I was there, but I wasn't there. You know what I'm saying? Through an emotional time in her own life, right? Like where she's pregnant, she's having a
Yes, because
baby, she's
that's a
never had a baby,
crazy.
and then
Yeah.
you're having a baby with this partner who's extremely distant, extremely intoxicated all the time, like just not there, right? Because then after my grandma passed away, it was more about just consuming things and escaping my reality. There was a few moments that really started to spark the change in me. I had this thing growing up where I promised myself I would never be like my parents. And Caitlin was born. She was in the NICU. She was like 3 or 4 weeks premature, and I'm in the parking lot getting drunk, and I'm like just like my parents. Like literally, I've promised myself for the last 25 years that I would never be like this. Well, here I am, and I wish I could say that it I changed really quickly, but there was one more scenario where uh, I was kind of like I won't go into like a lot of details on this, but let's just say there was a scenario where I would have gotten in a lot of trouble, and it was essentially complete luck that I didn't. It was like right place, right time. We were at this hotel, and some stuff happened, and I was at a store, and then my friend's girlfriend called me and said, "Hey, don't come here." When they got here, they were waiting for us, and not to exaggerate, but because I have been in trouble a lot, and I had, things on me as well as money and firearms and stuff like that. I would have probably never seen my if I would have been at that house when the cops showed up. And that was the point. I remember calling Gina, Kaylin's mom, crying, and I was like, I want to come home. I went home, and then we tried to work things out a little bit, but there was a lot of resentment towards me, which is completely warranted. I completely understand that, and me being myself at the time was, I wanted to victimize myself, or like, woe is me type bullshit. But now this is a long time ago too. So
Yeah.
this is none of this is present. I should probably preface that. None of this is like recent by any means. Um so we ended up splitting up, and I realistically knew that I needed to make a change. If I didn't make a change, December 18th, 2017, I checked myself into an inpatient treatment center for 30 days. And it was a weird scenario because I was in there with all these people. I missed my daughter crawling for the first time. I missed all of that stuff because I knew if I didn't, make those sacrifices, then the amount of damage or potential, things that I would not purposely teach my daughter or whatever would be, pretty fucked up, because I would just end up repeating past traumas and all that shit. So got into treatment, and kind of passed with flying colors, and have been stone cold sober ever since, which December 18th, 2017. It's kind of crazy to think. And then, started working a job. And it was like this really weird time in my life where everybody was congratulating me. They were so proud of me. They were so proud. They were like, congratulations. And you're like, you're being the man you're supposed to be. And I just remember like this constant feeling like, what for what? Like, what are you congratulating me on? Like, one, I don't need a gold star for just doing what I'm supposed to be doing, but like, is this it? And I was working for a plastic injection company, so they like make like gas
Oof.
tanks and slides and
Yeah.
all this stuff. And I remember I was working overtime at a job yeah, I hated it, right? And then my mom sends me a picture of my daughter in an Easter basket at my aunt's house, and there I was, like not there. And that was like, I can literally pin that down to like a pinnacle moment of me realizing that I needed to do something different. And I will give you a summary of what the early stages of my online business looked like, because it was uh struggle. And I don't say this from like a marketing angle. I don't have experience. I didn't have experience. I didn't have knowledge. I didn't have anything around any of it. So I probably failed for three plus years. I tried every business model I possibly could. I've had to get jobs multiple times throughout my journey to entrepreneurship. Acquired credit card debt, like you name it. And yeah, so a driving factor has always been my daughter. I do have a big emotional attachment to business because I do feel like I was forced to find myself in business. I think entrepreneurship at its core is essentially just self development on steroids. So you're going to have to learn a lot about yourself, and your way of thinking, and the way your worldviews, and all that stuff to actually have success. But it was rough. It was rough from 20 shortly after I got sober, so like 2018 ish. to you know 2021. At the start of 2021 is when I started to have success. Kind of during that COVID time. COVID was like kind of popping up, and everybody was like at home and all that. So that's pretty cliche of me to say, but that's when things started to like turn around. And let's see what else we yeah, that's like a summary of what how I got to here, which is weird to talk about because again, that was so long ago. I mean, I've been sober for almost 9 years, which is wild. Um, or whatever. I don't even keep track, but like it's been a long time. So, um, yeah, 2021 things started to work. Uh, and I will give you guys a lesson for any of you guys that are potentially in business or in entrepreneurship or online business in general is things really started to work in my business when I started doing less. When I started having less moving parts, when I stopped trying to be good at too many things or master too many platforms or listen to too many people, it was, you know, doing less. And an analogy for this is like if you look at like, Michael Jordan could be, considered the best basketball player in the world. He didn't become the best basketball player in the world by trying to be the best at pickleball and football and motocross and basketball at the same time. It was like he became the best because that was the focus. That's all he did.
Yeah.
Now, someone might find, a picture of him playing pickleball or some shit, but you get the point.
Yeah. So I think that's one of the first things that you said that really like hit me hard when I was listening to you. And that's what I loved is you guys made it so simple. And so, guys, this podcast is Break Free Find Joy. The tagline has always been show up for yourself so you can show up for your life. And that's what I love about your story. One, I've told Nate this so many times. I'd heard his story, but even we met in person earlier this year, and I just remember thinking like it's crazy like how I love this part of the online business is being able to create these relationships and meeting people that you never would have outside of this. Like all the people that were there at the retreat that they held for all of their higher clients, whatever you want to call it, we were all so different. There was nothing, none of us are running the same business. Some of us are selling their high ticket product. Most of us are doing our own thing from all over the country, but we all gather because we're working to build a business that we love, that has impact, that makes a difference. And being able to come together, people in that sense of a like mind is like just crazy. And I just looked at Nate, I was like, if you were to ask me if I didn't know anything about you, I never would have imagined that he was ever in prison or anything like that. Now I will say a trauma kid knows a trauma kid. So I would have known that you've seen some shit because I'm very open about the fact that I grew up in a very dysfunctional family. Had they always flagged this, but there was abuse very early in my childhood, and I did not confront that until much later in my life. And so that, again, that's the driving force for me in everything, especially for this podcast. And so it's like something that always gets me with your story is that I feel like I identify with, but I'm curious as to how you feel. Like, do you have words as to, you said yourself, this is pretty much all been the driving force of your daughter, having your daughter. But what about that? Because there's many people who have kids, who love their kids, who still can't fight that addiction. But what is that internally that really helped you break that? And do you feel like there's some healing and like showing up for your younger self in that?
Well, I mean, you bring up a really good question too. So, like anybody who's trying to get sober, they won't get sober for their kids. So, like I say, it's my daughter. My daughter is the driving factor for like me wanting to do my business and stuff like that. And my daughter was like the straw that broke the camel's back that just made me sick of me. I was
Yes.
tired of me and who I was and who I was becoming and the actions that I continued to take and felt like I didn't have control over anymore. So I could say it's her that got me sober, right? Yes, it was a catalyst, but it wasn't until I was like, I'm over this. when I'm like completely disgusted with who I'm looking at in the mirror. I don't even recognize who I am anymore. I'm becoming this person that I promised myself I would never be. I'm doing things that I promised myself I would never do. So she was the key, the catalyst. So I can't say like, oh, I was terrified of, missing out on my daughter's life, which was a real thing. But then
Mhm.
it also comes back to like, I put myself in this situation and like, this is my fault. And this is because of who I'm becoming. And if I don't change, then everything that I do not want to continue to happen is going to happen. It's inevitable. Right. And I've never been the type of person who makes excuses. I think that's one of the personality traits that I have. It's like the weirdest thing. Like when I'll never forget, we were outside of 7-Eleven and I was at this party, and everybody does their thing, and then they're all talkative, right? Everybody's talking about all their
Yep.
dreams and their passions, and they're at theyese parties, and they're hanging out with the Coca-Cola cans, so to speak, metaphorically, and they're like, "Where do you see yourself in 5 years?" And I'm like, "In prison." What do you mean? I just gave you that. Like, what do you what do you mean? Like, I
Yeah.
literally just gave you this thing that is not allowed. So I've always been kind of a little bit self-aware, but it wasn't, I can't say it was her. And this is coming from somebody who, I've been around addicts and substance abuse and all that stuff. Like, people have kids all the time that can't get sober. You have to want it.
Yep.
You also can't try to force somebody that you want to change, or you want them to get sober, or you want them to get sober for you. It doesn't work, right? Because it has to be for them. Yeah, they might get sober for a little bit, or they might stop for a little bit, but it's not going to be deep enough until you're actually just not okay with who you are anymore, right? Which is the hardest part for like people who are in relationships with potential addicts is, you desperately want them to change. And the thing about it too is, like, being an addict myself, I can tell you I could have the best, and I feel bad because I put Kaylin's mom through this all the time. It's like I had the best intentions of wanting to get sober every time, and I put her
Mhm.
on this yo-yo, like, yeah, I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna do it, and I'm gonna do it, and then it just never lasted until I was it eventually got to the point, like, what the fuck are you doing, man? Like, what are you actually doing with yourself? Like, you haven't been
Do you
happy. You haven't had self-worth your entire life. Like, all this shit, the shitstorm of a life that you've put yourself through, it's just gonna get worse.
Mhm. Do you think that made it easier or harder? I get we can't say because it's hard because obviously we don't know what everybody else is going through. I will say Nate introduced me to one of my favorite words. I think I'd heard somebody else say it, but it wasn't until Nate brought it up that I was like, "That's good." And this is something that has always come up, but I didn't have a word for what it was that I've struggled with self awareness. Like I was hyper aware and very hyper critical of myself and always thinking that I couldn't mess up because I felt like there was so much on my shoulders. Grew up with very religious upbringing, very dysfunctional relationship with that, which is why it was on there that I was like, oh, I have to break this or everybody in my life is going to be stuck. And so I have to do this thing so I can save everybody else, which was the fear that kept me from addiction. I will say, which is crazy. Because I did drink at a young age and I was around that stuff, but the only reason why I didn't is because it was so good that I was scared because I knew where it could go. So I was like, I can't do it. Not that I didn't want to. And then I just had family who was like, you're too good. You can't have this, which at the time made me mad because I was like, fucking hypocrite. Now I'm like, okay, I get it. But had that self awareness, I don't know. I feel like it would be a funny. Did you ever have people look at you in that life like, what the fuck you mean? Because at that point you're kind of shattering their own perception of what it is. Because when they share those dreams and like, oh, I'm gonna be here, and you're just like, nah, I know who I am and what I'm doing.
Well, I think a big part of it is like it's like when I got out of prison, my mom asked me, when I was, she would come visit me, and she's like, "Are you gonna change?" And it's like, I'm not gonna promise you that because I don't know. So it's not like I was ignorant to the consequences of the choices that I was making, but I feel like a lot of the people in at least that I was surrounding myself with at the time were, because they were, maybe they come from different backgrounds as me. They don't maybe they've never been in trouble. Like I said, it was a weird scenario because I ended up putting myself into a scenario where I was hanging out with people that owned, box chain companies in my town, like, you know, huge houses, mansions with boats and lake houses and all this stuff. And it's like, to them, it's like we're having fun, we're partying. But it's like at the end of the day, I'm going home and I'm doing this, just, this is what I'm doing for a
Yeah.
living. You're not, right?
Yep.
So they'd have all these dreams and aspirations, and I just wouldn't sugarcoat it. Like, where are you going to be in 5 years? It's like, well, I mean, probably like right back where I just got out. Like, it is what it is. Oh, but then I would convince myself I don't know anything different. I don't know how to be any different. This is all I know. This is what I grew up around. And it's like, I literally just kept myself in this box of like, so scared to try to push my own paradigms of comfort. It's like, oh, if it's outside of anything that I'm used to, I'm not touching it. I'm not doing anything with it because I'm gonna be bad at it. I'm gonna fail. I'm gonna, the judgment or something along those lines. I don't know. And maybe I like the attention at too. Realistically, I probably did like the attention to some degree because I was the cool kid. I was the cool guy. I was the attention. I was the center of the party or whatever. So it was like I had a ton of friends, if that's the word you want to call it. Like, they're not friends, but like, you know, it's that
Yeah.
placebo of having some type of connection, which probably stroked some deeper level of my codependent habits, right?
Yep.
I could keep you around. I could keep you around and you could be around and you could be my, you know, there's like, maybe some deep rooted things around that too, which, who knows? We're weird people. All people are fucking so faceted. Who knows, right?
Yeah. So something that you guys might know, that after he told me, I was like, that makes complete sense. After hearing his story, Nate, how about you tell us what you did as a kid? So when you were younger, tell us about how you learned so much about animals.
So like, when I was super young, there was two ways that I would either escape through video games. I played a lot of games. I would escape my own reality, which is an addiction in itself. Which, looking back, it's like, I became addicted to games and escaping any situation or circumstance that I was in. And I also had like this extreme fascination with animals. Like, I thought I was going to be a vet or a wildlife journalist. They always fascinated me. Just realistically, that's what, I'd spend most of the time. I'd watch documentaries and you know the most boring shows that kids would not want to watch, and that's what I would watch all of them. Like, yeah. So that was took a lot of interest for, but it fizzled out relatively quickly. And then it was funny because, I always watched, like, Animal Planet, Nat Geo, all these things. That's like what I would prominently watch. And then when I got kicked out of high school and had to go to like this alternative school for like delinquents and all that stuff, like, our homework was like to watch educational TV, which was like the weirdest thing.
You're
Like,
like, all
okay.
right.
So yeah, and like, when I was younger, I didn't have any. And don't get me wrong, like, I love both my parents. It's really cool. It's been really awesome because after I got sober, I purposely moved in with my parents because I didn't include any of this, but I moved out at like 16 because my mom got sober when I was 16, and it was like a really weird transition for me because I had, at this point, I was like an adult, right? I was like, in my eyes or whatever, an adult. Like, I was still a kid. And my mom got sober, and then she's this night and day person. She's completely different from how I'm used to growing up. And then she wants to be my parent. She wants to be my mom, which, to be
Yeah.
fair, that's what
Really
it
hard
is.
time to come into.
So I was really distant from both of my parents for a really long time because I held on to all these weird resentments. It was their fault, blah 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 blah. And after I got sober, I purposely moved back in with my family, and it was probably one of the best things I did because I actually got to know my parents as like adults, who they are as actual human beings, not this weird perception that I created them in my adolescent mind, right? That they all these skewed memories that I potentially have from my childhood of what you did and how you said it and whatever. So it's really cool to do that. Me and my parents have awesome relationship today. It's kind of funny, where we hang out all the time. My dad, my mom. Dad's been sober for I don't 20 years. Uh, it's funny because he got sober way before my mom, and then he stayed with my mom for another 8 years before she got sober, which was like
Yeah, that's
which
a
also kind of
super interesting.
yeah, like and then she got sober, and they've been together ever since. And it's funny to watch, like you mentioned, like I come from a family of dysfunction, and it scared me. It's how me and my brother are. My brother's the polar opposite of me. Never done anything, never been in trouble, never drank, never done absolutely anything because he was like terrified, right? He was terrified of repeating the same mistakes as his not only his parents but his older brother. And I'm 5 years older than him, so there's a good gap.
Yeah, especially when you're talking about when you're moving out at 16, so that puts him at 11.
Yeah.
And when you're those ages, like it is such a my brother and I are only 2 years apart, almost 3, and it is yes, you can say hi real quick. Hi. Okay. Can you let the dog out? Mm-hmm. He said hi. Thank you. That's my oldest, which is crazy. So he just turned 9, and he's also one of the reasons behind me and my thing. Like, really, my son Aries and my daughter Amara, they're the reasons that really pushed me to do something different, behind really the reason behind this podcast and things. But much like your story, it's like I knew that it couldn't be for them. I had to do it for me, for them, because I realized, and that's the last 4 or 5 years has really been focusing heavy on, like, I can't give them or teach them any of these things if I'm not doing it for myself. And through therapy and other things, like, I was not as gracious as you with my parents when it finally came to a head. I was very, very resentful. I'm still working through some of that. We have a pretty good relationship now, but I was very angry that they would put me into a lot of things. And I was like the parent in my family. Multiple times I'd have both parents, I would come to them about, like, hey, I see my brother doing these things that are very unhealthy, very scary. And they're like, we're the adults, we're the parents, not you. You need to be quiet, shut up. It was always Brandy's got to be a goody two shoes. I was always the problem because I was pointing out this behavior that was just, I was like, why can't you guys see this? If you guys would just fix this, just talk to each other about things, stop fighting and putting us in the middle, then like this could be good. We could work on it. And it was all these things that are actually good traits in different situations that I actually can use to help people now, internalized it as, hey, this is everything wrong about me and I need to learn how to shut it off. Stop seeing these things as negative. Don't try to help people see it, all this stuff, whatever. And I forgot how I got on this tangent, but so my kids, and it was my son helped me a lot because he was very much like me as a child, in the way of very quiet, very sensitive, cries at everything, like all the videos of animals. If he sees anything sad or something super happy, very emotional. My daughter is like me in the way of, she is very high on the joy. But she's very expressive. She's like, I look at her and I'm like, oh, that could have been me if I had support, if I had people to see me and not judge some of the things. And but it grinds my gears because I see her doing that and it brings up fear in me. So like that's, I don't think I'm not quite as aware of some of the things. Like, I hear you talk about your daughter and the way, like, I don't know, I admire the way that you parent so much, which sounds funny because I don't actually get to see you in person, but the way you speak about being a father and your awareness of it and just the joy that you have and being able to be there for her, and the fact that you make your business work around your life versus the other, because I'm back to work now and that's something that I feel I hold guilt over, but I'm also realizing, like, I just have to do what's best for me and my family in this moment, and this is it. So
Well, and then the
I
thing I will
appreciate
say,
that.
I'll give context too. Is for any of you guys that watch or know anything about me, or just in general, like, yes, we also have to remember I've been building this business for a really long time. So I've been in business since 2018. Like, and my addictive personality takes over. So there's no halfway in for me. There's never been like, I'll try it. I'm fucking going all in no matter what, which is a good trait. But like, and I'm only bringing this up because it's like very like I love how we talk about like, oh, you get all to spend all this time with your daughter, and there's this balance or whatever we want to call it. It wasn't always like that, right? There was very early stages of my business where, I'm feeling fucking guilty at the park with my daughter because we used to always ride bikes and go take carrots to these little mini horses that were there, and just not present. And I remember I can't count the number of conversations where, I'm out to dinner with my mom and Kaylin, and she's like, "Get off your fucking phone, man. Be here with
Mm,
us. Be present with us. Be in this moment. Like, you say that you're doing this for Kaylin, then be here in the moment with Kaylin. Like, be here with your daughter." So there's been, it's really been a lot more of my priority as success has came more and more, or things have gotten, better. But I'm still not perfect, right? There's still all sorts of things that I could do better, and be a better father. I think if that's just the reality of it. But I want anybody who's like, I don't want anybody to compare themselves to the life or the business that I potentially have built now, because it took a lot to get here. It took a lot of work and sacrifice, and that's also came at the cost of relationships. I haven't been on a date in 8 years. So it's like there has been things that I have personally intentionally sacrificed to maintain. Like, okay, I want this business more than anything. I still want to be a present father. What has to go? The energy to go somewhere else, the energy to try to go date, the energy to do this because, and I know that might sound sad, that might sound like whatever, but that's just the reality of it. There's been other
yeah.
things that friends that I would hang out with, and hey, do you guys want to go to these parties and hang out with, come to this birthday party or go on this thing? And it's like there was a long period of time in my business where it was boring as fuck. It was go to work, come home, be a dad, and fucking stay up late working on my business. That's all I did. And I know entrepreneurship and the laptop lifestyle and online business is so glamorized in the era of life that we're in right now. And maybe, hey, if you went to college for marketing and you got a marketing degree, hell, you might be able to pick things up and go really quick. But I didn't. I came from no background, so I had to learn literally everything myself. I had to read books, I had to make investments and courses, and more importantly, on top of all that, a lot of fucking time, a lot of
Hmm.
failure, a lot of banging my head against the wall. Like, why isn't this working? Why is everybody else better than me? Am I cut out for this? That was
You
kind of
mean
the
you're
the
not immune?
yeah, I'm not, yeah, not immune to any of that. And I'll be honest, this was like the real turning point in my business where I was driving DoorDash. Okay, so I was driving DoorDash in downtown Portland, and I got an invitation to join a $15,000 mastermind. And I've never had a job that paid me more than 1,800 bucks a month. So my last W-2 that I had, it was literally $31,000 for the entire year. And I remember I got an invite, and they're like, "Hey, I want you to join this." And it was somebody I trusted. It's somebody that I still work with to this day. His name's Jacob. I still work with him to this day. And I sat on it for weeks. Like, nothing that I have really done has worked. It's like, and if you would have asked me at the time, it was because I didn't actually work the plan, right? It was like I would tell you that, oh, that course is shit, that program's broken, whatever, that business model doesn't work. But the reality of it was I just changed too often, right? Like, I land one agency client to go run ads for, and I don't get rich. So it's like, this is broken. I need to go do something else. And it's like, what? Which is probably why I'm so abrasive with some of the messaging I use now. But eventually, I remember telling myself, like, kind of embarrassed of the investment, because it's like nothing's really worked like I thought it was going to be. And eventually, after a few weeks, I did it. And I remember telling myself, like, okay, if this doesn't work, this is it. This is my last try. This is my last try, because I'm in the hole, like fucking so in the hole on investments that this nothing I've done has worked. I mean, I literally in a span of 3 years, I made $65 in my online business, and I was wearing a fucking bumblebee costume, playing dress up with my daughter, and it was like that was I'll never forget that moment because it was like, oh shit, it's real. So I jumped into that, and I could tell you it was like a tactical thing or a perspective or a lesson. And yes, there was tons of information that I picked up from being in that room. But the real thing that changed for me was because I had this weird emotional attachment to how much money that was, that it was no longer optional.
Yes.
So then I got on a call with him and he was like, "Hey, do this, delete all this and like stop doing all this other shit." It wasn't like, "Okay, well maybe I'll think about it." No, I was like, "Cool, you told me to do that. I'm fucking doing that." And nothing else. So I had this weird emotional attachment to this amount of money that I spent on this product, that it kind of forced my hand. And that was the year that I like my results went like this, and then they just went, because I didn't like I said earlier, I did way less. I did way less in business, but it's because I stopped adding more and stopped listening to too many people and doing too many strategies and stuff like that. Because yeah, I got on a call with him. He's like, I remember I brought him like this. It was like a list of like this long of like just a ton of things. He's like, let's get on a call. Bring me your daily action plan. And I'm like, I'm doing this, and there was like this huge list of things. And he's like, I'm doing like 80K a month, and you're like doing more than me. Like out of
Crazy.
anything on that list, what is the one thing you want to keep? And I told him I want to keep my group. He's like, cool, delete everything else. Don't do anything else. Just do the group. That's it. And that's what I did for 12 months. And then that's the year I made my first six figures online. Ended up collabing with Flip, getting in a partnership with Flip the following year, and have since, which is crazy to say, have helped people make a lot of money online in the tunes of millions of dollars, which is fucking insane because I'm literally a degenerate from the fucking Northwest who in high school got made fun of because I was most likely to end up on America's Most Wanted. And I, at one point in my life, probably told you that I would want to be on that. I would want to get that trophy. Prove them
Mm-hmm.
right.
Yeah, like, hey, if I'm gonna do it, go all in, right? You said there's no halfways. If I'm gonna be on the wrong side, I'm gonna be the top of the
Yeah,
wrong
fuck
side.
that.
I am no mediocre. What I love about that is the way that time works. So our stories, obviously, we didn't know each other through all those things. December of 2018 was my son. Was he getting ready to turn 3? He was born in 2017. So yeah, he was 2. It was a really, really tough time. I lost the tip of my pinky. For anybody who doesn't know, look at my little nub. When my son was only 5 months old, and I couldn't hold him by myself. That really, unlike Nate, I was a star employee because work gave me this box and these things I could check off, and people gave me attention for that. Now, I will say, you got to be careful when this is my biggest issue with corporations, and what I warn a lot of younger people when they talk to me about things is, if you are a very good employee, you can get very burnt out very quick because you will get very used very easily unless you have good management and people around leadership to help you actually develop skills and become a leader, not just somebody who's taking on all the work that other people won't do because it makes you feel important, because that's what I was doing. My dad worked in the factory first, and he was always very overly stressed. Everything fell on him, all these different things. And so I was like, I'll come help. Like, then you'll be less stressed. So hopefully you and mom will stop fighting as much. Your relationship will get better. If your guys' relationship will get better, then my relationship, this whole thing will work better, which means you guys will have more like energy to focus on helping my brother who's really struggling, and I'm terrified he's not going to be around for much longer because of his self-destructive path. So even like that far back, it was, I want to do this, but it's not because, hey, I want to go do this because it makes good money. Although that's what I told people in high school, is like, I'm going to take a gap. I'm not going to go to school, but it's because I couldn't afford it. I remember asking my parents for help on the whatever that financial stuff you have to fill out is. And all I did was cause huge fights because none of us knew how to do it. I couldn't figure out the paperwork. And it was a nightmare. So I was like, I know what I can do. The only thing that I've ever gotten really good feedback on is I'm the person who shows up and gets things done. So then that's what I did. So I was only the second woman site manager in the company's history. I was the youngest at 24. And 10 days into that, I lost the tip of my pinky finger. And my dad was driving the forklift. And so I had to say, hey, Dad, can you stop that? But you got to leave it where it is. I had to give him all the instructions because I am the boss. He was just there filling in for someone else. And I had to, can you imagine Kaylin just being like, hey,
Hey, you cut my
Dad,
finger off.
can you grab my finger? It's still very traumatic for him. So sorry, Dad, if you're watching, he will
Watching
to this
this.
day. He'll
Sorry,
tell
Dad.
you it's one of the worst days of his life. And I'm like, I knew I had to confront those things. I went back to work in the factory after. And again, I think all parents go through something, admittedly, for women, when you're growing another human being in your body, it's a crazy stressful period, but especially if you come from dysfunction and you're doing this and you're having all these changes. And Richard and I had gone through, not just like, we moved 8 hours from where we were living, we still didn't have family, he was staying home while I was working, and it was just this crazy dynamic. And I remember going to see the workman comp doctor and being like, so can I go back to work yet, like a month after the accident? Because I was just like, i can't I can't be off. I have stuff that I need to do, all these other things. And he looked right at Richard and was like, I've never seen anybody trying to go back to work faster. Like, you can't, you
Like, get
have
me
to
in
make
there.
sure this heals. Yeah. Yeah, he's like, yeah, she's something. But then it wasn't until a year after that, of going through, it was a very, very toxic workplace, people screaming and yelling at their employees, treating me terribly. And then my work was like, well, they're a really good, really big customer, that's probably not what's happening. And I pushed through and made sure that they know, hey, this isn't acceptable. Wasn't great. Ended up leaving that position and feeling like a failure. Like, oh, I thought this was everything I ever wanted. Was I wanted to become a manager, be a good leader for the people around me, be the good type of leader that I've had in my life, and help people enjoy their jobs and live these decent lives. And then it was like being told that none of those dreams were never going to happen, because that's not how corporations work. And it sucked. And then 2021, I'm glad that you're ahead of me in the business, because if you guys didn't, I don't, who knows what would have happened. But I started this podcast the same time as you guys were just starting Group Juice. So then being able to hop on, it's just crazy how the timelines kind of just, the way that
Aligned.
life works. Yeah, it's like,
When it's
I'm
hard
very
too,
thankful.
especially for anybody who like starts a business or you know, I mean, everybody comes from working. I think that's another thing too. It's very easy. You know, I worked full time for my first. I, I'm I'm a serial job hopper. I remember at the last construction company I worked out with. That's what he called me, because I would build a little nest egg and then I quit. And then I came to the realization that my expectations were really horrible in online business, because I was sold on
Mm,
these crazy, you know, make money really fast. It was the funniest thing because I ended up getting into this program called Project 24, which was about building a blog over the span of 24 months. So it was like that was going to be my long term commitment. Then I went and got a job at a gummy bear factory where we'd sort like prenatal vitamins and all this stuff. And I worked up until the start of 2021 there at this company. But it was the funniest thing because I didn't give a fuck about the job. I was literally there. And mind you, I'm not saying like I'm not the type of person that has bad work ethic. So it was really funny to watch because in the span of me being there, I'm like a leader of one of the lines. And I'm
Yep.
like, all the bosses are like, dude, we love Nate. He pumps out good numbers. He's the best. And they're like, oh, do you want us to train you on the forklift? And I'm like, yeah, of course. And like, oh, we're gonna train you how to run the machines. And they're training me on all this stuff while I'm over on the computer writing blog posts. Literally writing blog posts on the company computer. Like, I know I'm quitting. I know that I'm like, and I felt it makes me feel not really. It makes me feel, you know, because they're like,
Yeah, it's
investing
conflicting.
into me to be this really this leader and the line lead, and that's what I was. I was a line lead. I was a full time employee, and I was, you know, doing the bottles and all, like doing all of it from managing, so to speak, because there was like 4 or 5 lines that they would just pump out hundreds of thousands of
Yeah.
bottles, and I would make sure I do changes and whatever. But I knew I was quitting. But it was the funniest lesson for me because it was like you had these other, and I wasn't there openly saying this either. I wasn't like talking to other
Yeah.
or whatever. It was just like I'd show up, do my work, but then you'd have people that were like so mad at the company and that they wanted these raises and all this stuff. And it made me feel bad because I'd watch these employees that like love this company and they wanted to like excel at this job. And there I was just like halfway in, just here literally to just pay bills until I can get my business off the ground. And, I went all the way to becoming like a lead. And it's the funniest thing because 8 years later, my mom is actually friends with the husband who does all the hiring. And even to this day, he's like, oh, yeah, Nate can come back anytime he wants.
Yeah. It's wild. That makes me feel better. But I've always been that type of person where even now I was like, I'm going to go work as a cook at the daycare. But I was like, oh, it's just going to be like, I'm going to focus on my other things. But I will say that's kind of where more of any of my dysfunction when it comes to like addiction that runs in my family. Mine really is like the workaholic type where I have a very hard time reminding myself of the priority because I see the thing and then I'm like, oh, okay, I have to do. And then I see all the ways it can be better. I do all, I can get very distracted very easily on these things. So I've had to work on, okay, yes, I am here. I obviously care very deeply about making sure I'm making the food, making it safe, and all these things for the kids. It's where my kids go, all the things, but also reminding myself, like, oh, hey, this isn't it. Like, I'm not going to be. And I've had to stop and catch myself doing that. And it's just having to remind yourself of those things and that, but it's hard because, like I said, that's the more natural thing for me. And when I get that, like, oh, you're good at this, or especially because I wasn't expecting to, I'm not a good cook, just for anybody out there who's like, like I can follow direction, but I get very, very, it's a good thing I work by myself in the kitchen. I will say that I get very overstimulated and other things, and my brain is chaotic. So I don't do it in a way that a lot of whatever other people would do it in an organized, like, oh no, I'm flying by the seat of my pants all the time. And I get it done, and most people like the food, and that's all that matters.
I think one of the things for anybody who's like wanting to dive into entrepreneurship or online business specifically, I think it's very easy to use a job as a reason why you can't. And I want to try to help you reframe your perspective on it. Is if you have a job, that's your number one advantage. And I'm not going to say this like I'm not grateful of where I'm at, but the difference between me and somebody who has a job, it doesn't have to work for you, which also means that you can build
Mm,
intentionally. You can be more intentional with the things that you put out. You can fucking fail for the next 6 months and things would be okay. You would be okay.
yes.
Me, I can't. I can't because that's how I pay my bills. That's how I paid my bills for the last 5 years. That's how I pay for all the stuff that my daughter wants to do. And she's a girl, so there's gonna be next thing there's gonna be makeup and all sorts of crazy
Yeah,
stuff.
you're not even to the
Um,
expensive part yet.
Use it as your advantage, and like if you hate the situation, good, because then you'll do things to start getting out of that situation. I think it's when we get super comfortable and bills are paid and we don't have any type of pressure or there's two things that I really think work really well for people, and it depends on your personality. So you have number one is like a future version of where you could be, or escaping this current or situation that you don't like I don't ever want to
Mm,
feel this way. I don't ever want to be in this situation again. And that's what it is for me when it comes down to like my daughter. I don't want to be in the situation again where I feel like not good enough to show her how to do something different. Because you brought something up earlier. Is your kids don't do what you say, they do what you do. Right? They follow what you do. I could tell her to go be the best entrepreneur or blaze down and show, chase her dreams. But if I'm like a lazy cow who doesn't do shit and don't do anything with my own life, and I just fucking punch a clock and drink beers and fucking yell at her all the time and be like, go be a business owner. She's not gonna do any of that. She's just gonna fucking she's a canary. She's gonna follow exactly what I'm doing, not what I'm saying. Right.
Yeah.
So if I want my daughter to have this opportunity in her life, then I need to lead by example. Also, I also look at this the same way with clients. Like, I can't ask my clients to do things that I'm not doing. I can't ask my clients to show up in a way that I'm not showing up. But the number one advantage that anybody who doesn't that wants to get into the space, your job is your advantage, right? Because then there's not that pressure on yourself. You can build smarter. You can build more art, like meticulously. You can actually put in the reps that are required to make sales online, right? Like, this is the other thing, is like everybody wants to come in and make money as fast as possible, and I get it. That's great, but that's not the reality for most. So if you can come in with the understanding that it's going to take a little bit of time and a little bit of energy and a little bit of effort, it's going to put you ahead of everybody else, because the online landscape will chew people out and spit them out faster than anything else. And if you can go into it understanding that it's going to take a little bit of energy, then you're going to be better off. That's my
Yeah,
that's
I
my
think
tangent about jobs.
yeah, I one of the things again, I think that's the main reason why I've continued is because when I started working with you guys, even just the beginning of the group, that's why I knew that this was more the route that I wanted to take, not just because you guys were like, be yourself, create a business that you love that works with you, but also because you guys were very honest about like, hey, this isn't going to be a quick thing. It's not going to be an easy thing. It's going to take time. It's taken us 3 years and failures and money and investments. And I think a lot of people, whether we want to admit it or not, we know that. Like, but it's not what we want. We want it to be simple. We want it to be easy. But in reality, it does just take time. And I think if I was in a different group where people were expecting to have different results, obviously that would create uh doubt within myself, but shame and all this other stuff of comparison. And that's just not what you guys do.
And I think that's the other thing too, is like where not to be like, not that I'm like super big on like hustle culture, and I know it's not the sexiest thing for me to say, like work hard, show up, but like let's be real, like if we want exceptional results or an exceptional life, or to have the ability to live in a circumstance that the vast majority of people don't get the luxury to live. And what I really mean by that is, like, if we want to have the freedoms and the ability to be present and make money, then we really need to come to terms with doing the actions or the things that most people aren't willing to do. And that, like, at its core, that's what it is. Like, where, you know, I also know for me, a lot of it was my expectations in the beginning that really kept me stuck. Because to be real, I probably could have had success with blogging. I probably could have ended up having more success with the agency where I was selling paid media to local businesses. But I never like gave myself enough time to actually get good enough at my craft to be worth money. Right? It's like a lot of the times in the online business space, we're sold on this idea that you can make $1 million with $0 skill sets. And that's like saying you could step into a boxing ring and box somebody who has decades of experience and you don't. Right? It's like it's the dark side of business, because it is going to take skills. It is going to take learning something. And mind you, I'm not saying you have to be Albert Einstein. Like you look. The irony of it too is most people actually have skills from their jobs that could be translated into online business. Team building, management, Excel, accounting, all these other things could be, built into some type of online income or business. But it's gonna be through repetition. It's gonna be through, which it's hard, because we live in a society where instant gratification. We want it now. We want it yesterday. We want.
we would rather buy a lottery ticket and have the opportunity to make a bunch of money than build a foundational or improve ourselves to the point where we can actually just make our own money. Like a very staggering statistic around that is there is more money spent per year on lottery tickets than McDonald's and Starbucks make every year combined.
which is crazy.
Billions of dollars.
But it's that illusion. It's like, oh, I can get this without doing anything, without realizing the amount you're investing in it to get it with almost zero chance of return. One other question for you. I love the books that you recommend. You have given me these, but I want these for anybody who's watching this, because the books that you recommend, they're helpful for people who are entrepreneurs, but they're very helpful for anybody who's not. So keep this in mind, whether or not you're going to build a business or you're just wanting to become a better version of yourself. I think you can do this in many different ways. I personally am obsessed with books of all kinds. Obviously have all of them behind me, and I've finished 4 books this week alone in audiobooks because I can't just do dishes. I have to be listening to something. But give me your top books that you feel like help somebody. It can be within business or non-business related, but just something that you feel like your top recommendations.
I'll give a few different recommendations based on what the individual wants. So if you're looking to like develop personally or looking to develop in general, and in full transparency, if you are thinking about starting a business or becoming an entrepreneur online, it is just personal development. Okay, your business will only grow as much as you allow your mind to grow. Otherwise, even if you start making money, you'll fall back into old habits that will unintentionally self-sabotage yourself back into struggle. Right? So if you do not change who you are in here, you can make all the money in the world, it won't matter. Right? So I genuinely 100% believe that entrepreneurship, online business is just as much a personal development game as it is a business game, as it is a tactical strategy type of thing. Now that we got all those pleasantries out of the way, number 1 book for sure is Failing Forward by John C. Maxwell. And the reason I recommend this book is because it reframes the way that we look at failure. And this is a thing that society tells us to believe in. It's what we're taught in the school system, etc. Failure is the end. You build up all this anticipation for this test, and then you get a big old F on your test, and then you're a piece of shit. And the messed up, ironic part about that whole scenario, it is the literal opposite of how life works. You'll fail. You will fail at a lot of things. You will fail over and over and over again. But it's not the end. And I think that's the way that a lot of people look at it in certain aspects of life or business. Oh, I failed at this, so it's broken. I'm not meant for that. And it's failures are lessons, right? Like, in my honest opinion, for anybody, fail faster. Literally fail as fast as you fucking can, because it's you're going to get more feedback from the struggle or the things that went wrong than what went right. Right? You're going to learn what not to do again. So that's one of my favorite books of all time, burned into my brain. Failing Forward by John C. Maxwell. Either The Compound Effect or what's the other one? What's the other one for Compound Effect? Let's see.
Which is funny because that's right there. Because I was reading it daily after I finally got me to read it.
Yeah, Compound Effect, and there's another one that's just like it, Atomic Habits.
Yep.
Either one of those two, which kind of break down on a little bit of a deeper level around like habitual things that we don't even see that keep us stuck. So both of those, I've read both of those multiple times, and they just kind of allow you to get like clear on certain things that we might be doing that we don't even think. Because us as humans, things become habitual. Like, you probably don't realize that you put the same sock on your right foot every day, and you have for the last 20 years. But us as humans, everything just becomes habitual, which can also be negative or positive if we force ourselves to, right? Or if we start actually being aware of it on little micro levels, and we start intentionally making changes to become habitual routines, right? Because then it's no longer, our identity becomes tied to those things that it no longer becomes work. Like for me, content, as an example, I post so much content, and I've been doing so much content for so long if I don't do content, it feels weird. If I go a day without posting something, it feels weird because it's so ingrained into my habitual routine that it's just what I do. So either one of those, be your future self now is a good one. Another one is, this is a bit of a dense read, but it is a very powerful one, and that is Psycho-Cybernetics, which breaks down how your brain can't tell the difference from your thoughts become your reality, essentially. So what you end up telling yourself becomes the reality that you end up living in. I'm not good enough. I can't do that. I'm ugly. Whatever we end up telling ourselves, that you literally, your body cannot make the difference from reality and what you say in your mind, and how to retrain your brain to do different things and talk about different things, because that becomes a projection of how you actually live in the real world, right? I'm awkward. I'm not good. I'm like weird. Whatever we tell ourselves, it becomes this reality, because we literally can't. There's been studies that we can't tell the difference. So if you wake up and tell yourself, I'm fucking beautiful, I'm a badass, I'm confident, if we talk about that whole woo woo, affirmations type stuff, but it talks about that on a lot of a deeper level. If we're talking about business books, those would be my number one recommendations as far as like personal development. If you're like parenting, No Drama Discipline is one of my favorite books for kids parenting. I've also read a lot of books by Temple Grandin. For any of you that have potential family members or kids with autism, she's got a really awesome story. Business books, anything by Dan Kennedy is usually a pretty good one. Audiobooks are kind of rough to listen to. Favorites out of that is New Attraction Wealth, or Attraction Wealth in the New Economy, Renegade Millionaire. Realistically, anything by Dan Kennedy. Dan Kennedy is probably he's there goes my microphone again. Nice. So Dan Kennedy is the mentor of mentors. Most of the people that you see in the online landscape, and I'm not talking about like the people at my level. I'm talking about the people who've made billions of dollars in sales online have learned from Dan Kennedy. And he's got a lot of books. What is it? Breakthrough Advertising by Eugene Schwartz. Now, I will say you probably won't even be able to get your hands on this book. It's actually a really expensive book. I think they got discontinued. I think I paid a couple $100 for it from eBay, but
wow,
it's a really good book. A lot of OG principles. You could probably find something online from it, a transcript or something, or whatever. Let's see what else in business. Seth Godin has a lot of really good stuff on business. He talks like All Marketers Lie, all these other actual business books. I think it depends on use cases for like what you want to potentially what you want to get known for, right? What you're trying to improve on. I could give you the cliche run of the mill, Alex Hormozy or whatever, but they're good books. Not my favorites, just being honest.
I wouldn't expect anything less. One of the things that I also wanted to ask you, and this would be
Can you give me like 2 seconds?
Yes, go for it. I went to check to see what she was wanting. I thought she spilled or something in there. She just wanted me to come and show me that when she stretched her legs out, it hurt.
Growing pains.
It's like, because she's been sitting on them like all to the side or whatnot, and she just put them out straight. I was like, yeah, I feel that, girl.
The W sit.
Yep. Richard, every time he will watch me do stuff in here, and I was like, I don't know how people do anything sitting still and not moving. Breaks my brain. Can you hear her singing?
Heck yeah.
She is obsessed with that song. She asked for chips earlier, and she said, she asked for something else, so we didn't have it. And she goes, okay, well, can I have some 6-7 chips? And I was like, you can have some chips.
6-7, heck yeah, dude.
I'm a brain rot kid. I'm like, I'm going to take your YouTube away, and you won't ever be able to watch it again.
Little baby brain rot.
Okay.
Brain rot champion.
She knows all of them, too. I'm like, no. Stop. The question. Hold on, it'll come back. Oh, nope. It was there, and then I lost it. Son of a biscuit.
Lost
I should have
it.
just said it out loud. I sure did. Because Cassie messaged me, too. She got a voice changer for gaming, so she can talk to people without them immediately realizing she's a girl and stop talking to her.
Oh, because yeah, they're like the egos get involved. So like, go make me a sandwich.
It's
Go make me a sandwich.
it is crazy. They just will immediately not talk at all or whatever, and it's just so stupid.
It's because they got a girlfriend in the back. It's like, you better not be playing with no women.
Yeah, I forget that part of it too, where it's like there are quite a few people that I've played with that then I think it helps because I'm a streamer too and I'll interact with them, but you'll have their girlfriends come and chat and you can tell they're immediately pissed
Yeah,
because there's another. I'm like,
playing with a female, 100%.
what is happening here? I'm not even okay. I don't understand. But then I realized like I've been that girl too. So I have to put that in perspective. I'm like, oh, now I realize how stupid I was to get so upset over it.
Yeah, see, I mean, I can't like me and Caitlin's mom. We used to like go to strip clubs and like because there was this strip club right by our house that owned. This is gonna sound bad. They owned a beef ranch.
That's crazy. That's a crazy sentence.
So they it was a strip club, but you could go in there and get $6 T-bones. So we would like always go in there and get T-bone
Hell
steaks and like just sit there and watch these like make fun of these women for their makeup because it was like, dude, she didn't even like blend the contour. Like, there was like
Yeah.
this
You see the
it's
strip.
like, dude, all right. So yeah, we would just hang out and eat steak and chill. She's so chill. She's a really good mom.
That is a question that I had earlier for this is something that I've had to learn so much like as I got older cuz I realized I am not very good at repairing or like dealing with the resentments of things. I am typically that person where I hold the grudges. I've done a lot of work, so it's easier now. But what was it like to be able to build relationships back with people after like getting sober and like with your parents and with Caitlin's mom? Like, I don't know. What was that like? Do you have any advice for people who are on either end of that? Because obviously both people are going through so much in that and you can't force anybody to forgive you, but I definitely think there's ways to go about it that can make things easier.
Yeah, I mean, I will speak from like my own experience on both lenses, and then I'll try to give some tactical. From my parents, there wasn't really much repairing because there wasn't like resentment towards my parents, but that's also because like I started to come to the realization that I was the problem, right? Like my parents got sober when my dad got sober when I was like, I don't know, 12 or something. And then my mom got sober when I was like 16 or whatever. So there was a lot of, and then there was this 8 or 9 year span of like me being the problem. Right. So I can't continuously sit there and be like mad at my parents when it's like, what do you mean? Like I've been the issue. And like when it comes to resentments on parents and stuff like that, and coming from families of dysfunction, it's very easy to do. And I have a very abrasive look on this, so it could be valuable, could not be valuable. I very much adopt the extreme ownership lens of things. So it's like, yeah, my parents might have put me in this situation, or I might feel this type of way towards my parents, but like, what is my actual part in this? Like, because I can either sit there and I can continue to be irritated with my parents or have this resentment towards my family or whatever, but that's putting them on this pedestal in this place of power that they don't even have. Because at the end of the day, it's up to me. It's up to me to either forgive those things or cut off relationships. You only have two options. You either forgive or you just don't have a relationship with them. Because then if you continue to put yourself in a situation where you have this relationship with somebody and you don't like it, and every time you're in that scenario, it makes you uncomfortable, then why are you doing it? Why are you there? Right? Like, why do you continuously, and I get that, like, family members are the worst because they say the most out of pocket shit and all that type of stuff. The other thing that I do is like just let people believe what they want to believe. Like the version of me that you created in your mind is not my responsibility. If you feel some type of way about what I said or what I'm doing, and like, you're valid to your own feelings, but if my intentions weren't there and you still believe that, that's not my problem, right? Like, it is what it is. And I know that's easier said than done. You got to remember we're all, especially if it's parents, you got to remember like they're just figuring it out too. Like at the end of the day, they don't know what they're fucking doing. They're just people. They make mistakes. They make things. They try. Some of them, I will say that explicitly. Some of them try their hardest with what they have, but um, you know, I can't give you a definitive answer to like, things would be great, or some relationships are beyond repair. Like that's the other thing that I had to learn too is there was some amends that I couldn't make. There was some things that I couldn't do to make things right because it was too far of a problem, right? It's tricky with relationships that you have resentments towards. I guess when it comes down to it is like look at the power that they're holding over you. Look at the power of like we all say like, oh, just forgive and all this type of stuff. You only really have two options. You can either continuously let that power rule your decisions in your life and use it as a way to stay a victim or whatever, or you can potentially change it, just get over it, or cut off the relationship, right? There's like that's the other thing. Like there's some people that just don't deserve space in your life, right? Like, and I know that sounds like rude and me being a dick, but that's just the reality of it. And not to use it as an excuse, I'm not. I take ownership of all of the actions that I took, or the lack of being present, or being an emotionally supportive partner. At the time, I wouldn't have told you that, but like after getting sober and being sober for so long, like it was 100% me. It was me. I'd make these empty promises, and I was projecting these fucking weird. You're not physically available for me, but I am not emotionally present for you, and that makes you a bad person. And I just wasn't a good partner, and I understood that. So there wasn't any time. It took her a really long time, which I understand. There was a lot of deep resentments for a long time in our co-parenting relationship. There was a while there that it made things difficult with trying to co-parent with Kaylin and these things and whatever. So it took a while, probably a good 2 or 3 years, honestly, that, there would be arguments and there would be things. And, I think over time though, she potentially realized that, she was, potentially talking to a version of me that was non-existent, right? Like would try to get a rise out of me around something, or try to use something that had happened previously as to throw it in my face. And it's like, it's been a really long time since I've been that person. It's been a really like and there wasn't any. The other thing too, it wasn't like me trying to put it back. I think that would be a very natural thing, like me spinning it back to her. It's like, yeah, you're right. You're 100% right. Like, yeah, I did that. Yeah, I was that person. Like, yeah, I did. I was horrible. I was a horrible partner to be in having a baby with at the time. It's just the reality of it. I can only say sorry so many times for the previous version of me. Like I can only, I can sit here and tell you I'm sorry until I'm blue in the face, even if you listen to it or not. But like, you can just look at my actions. It's not, and me and her have a really good relationship. There's no arguments. There's no weird resentment type stuff. If I'm being honest, we probably should have never dated. It was kind of more of like a maybe trauma bonding thing where we were both in weird scenarios where we ended up dating because we're like kind of oil and water. We're also very strong willed and like kind of butt heads a lot. But she ended up, she started dating a guy she went to high school with, and then she's, he's a super cool guy. Like he literally just picked Kaylin up. They're they live together. It's her bonus dad, as Kaylin calls him. He's a super cool guy. So yeah, there wasn't any initially. Yeah. So I think it depends on how fresh the relationship is. If you have somebody who is like potentially resentment towards you, maybe you were an active addiction, maybe you weren't, like just own your shit. Like, and I know that sounds so cliche of me to say, but like just fucking own it. Like don't beat around the bush. Did you hurt that person? Did you do that person wrong? Did you do the thing that they're accusing you of or whatever? Just fucking admit it. Like it is what it is. Like, instead of like trying to prove this point of, you did this and I didn't do this or whatever. It's like, you're not helping anybody by, if you guys are like still in an intimate relationship too, like just be fucking honest. Be honest with all of it. right? Because if you're going to lie and you're going to fabricate or you're going to try to manipulate the situation into getting what you want, it's not going to work out anyways, right? You just have to be honest up front about, the wrongdoings that both parties did or whatever. So, yeah, and that's also another thing that I struggled with after I got sober was because I dated a lot, and then it was like there wasn't that toxic fucking
Yeah.
there wasn't that we're on fire like type of relationship, which was weird because that's what I always got into. And it's funny because there was this girl, I'm not going to name who she is, but I should have married this woman, and I'm just being 100% honest. She was like a female version of Nate. I was 100% myself around her, and we had the funnest time together all the time. It was like always just a blast. Uh, I had this weird fucking internal problem. Like there wasn't any, like she had a really good job. She owned a house and like had her shit together. And I was like, this is fucking weird. There's no arguments. There's no fights. There's no drama.
Yeah.
There's no toxicity. Then like, yeah, maybe I don't like her. Maybe
Yeah, what is this feeling?
yeah,
This can't be love.
yeah, this is weird, dude. So like, and like me being an asshole, we just stopped talking. So yeah, but that was also something I had to get over. But yeah, the relationships are the hardest part. This is also a fucked up lesson I learned from my parents because through all of their trauma, they stayed together. So also kind of had this weird thing like your partner could do whatever you wanted to each other and be like the worst partner, and they would never leave.
Mm-hmm.
Which I also had to unlearn that type of stuff. But rebuilding, it takes time. Especially if you can't expect somebody to forgive you on their time, or you can't expect somebody to forgive you on your timeline. That's up to them, right? That's if they forgive you, or vice versa. Like I was saying, like if there's somebody that did something to you that they're like, if you don't forgive them, then don't. It doesn't have to be like, because you're going to get other people that will project that onto you. Oh, it's been 10 years. You need to forgive them for that. You need to let it go. You need to do this. Like, if you don't want that person to be in a part of your life and you don't forgive them, then just don't have them in your life. I think there's real power in like extreme honesty with ourselves and what we feel. It's like, hey, do you want to come to this function and hang out with these people? No, I don't. So don't go. Like, but a lot of times we do things out of like not wanting to let other people down or feeling like we're supposed to do those things. And that's also another thing that you'll face in entrepreneurship is you'll start connecting less and less with people around you, which it sounds really isolating and it sounds sucky, but it's the reality of it. Like you'll outgrow friends, you'll outgrow your peers. They'll tell you, "Oh, you changed. Oh, you think you're better than us now?" And it's like, yeah, I mean, I am. I have changed.
Yeah. That leads perfectly into the other. It reminded me of the question that I had earlier too, with or kind of a comment just for business. Like I think the thing that kept me the most stuck for the longest time was not just. I think I knew that it was going to take me longer to have success, not just because success takes time, but also because I know how my brain works and I know all of the things that I like. There are people who get into business and then they realize it's personal development and then they work on themselves and they kind of have to go back. They have success and then they self sabotage or they do all these things. I had already been doing the internal work for a long time, knowing that there were things in me that I needed to fix, because I wanted to someday be a mom, even though I was told young that it might not ever happen for me. That was one of the things that I really wanted to be. Like I wanted to leave the world better than what I came into it. And so I was incredibly self-aware of, if I start having success, it's not going to last because I don't feel like I deserve success. And anytime things start to go well, I even did this. You've seen me do this multiple times since we've been working together in the last few years, where I had a prompt challenge and it went really good. I started building these things and then I couldn't because I say out loud that, oh, it's because I didn't get this business out of it. That's not what it was. It's that it went well and it was easier than I had expected. It felt natural, and that's scary because I am afraid to hurt people, but it's not shocking to me. Like, I see these things and it's annoying, and I'm still working on it, obviously, but I can speak back. I can say, this is what's happening. That's why I'm not having success. But instead of giving up, I keep going. Whereas I've had people make comments about, oh, you're still doing that. Oh, you're still doing these things. Like, it's just a waste of time, or it's a waste of money, or you're doing all these things. If I hadn't done the work, and if I hadn't found a community like Group Juice, I would have given up because of the expectations other people are placing on me of, well, if it hasn't worked in a year, it's not going to work.
Yeah, well, and I think it's a really fascinating thing too, where I have two points on this. Really, like, where number one, we can't take like, what's the example of this? Like, this will be my cliche quote for the podcast. You can't take constructive criticism from people who haven't constructed the life you want to build. It's like you're taking advice from somebody of how you should be building your business from people who don't have a business. You're taking weight loss advice from your fat friend who eats like shit and doesn't go to the gym. And you're taking relationship advice from the girl who's dated every dude in town and can't keep a boyfriend for longer than fucking 6 weeks. And this is what happens. Like, this is what we do. We're taking, and we do it from our parents. We take financial advice or business advice from a parent who worked at the same company for 40 years. They don't have any idea about building a business. Like, we have to be aware that, like, everybody is valid to their own opinions and what they think about how we should be doing things, but it's our responsibility to, like, actually take that in. You can say whatever you want about how you feel about, my brother does this all the time. He thinks what I do is a complete waste of time because I don't work blue collar. That's okay, man. The feeling is mutual. I feel the exact same way about what you do. We don't have to understand each other. At the end of the day, it's not your life that you're living, right? If you get fulfillment in this life and that's what you do, then good for you, man. That's more than most. Most people aren't happy with what they do.
Yes.
The other point to that too is we need to be extremely aware of like changing our identity and our habits around who we are. And this goes on like a deep level in my experience. And I did it. I watch it happen all the time. It really is something that a lot of people need to work on in business, because if you do not change your identity, your belief, your self-worth, you're just going to fall back into habits. You're just going to fall back into struggling. It's like you build a successful business and unintentionally you end up sabotaging yourself to the point where now you're back in struggle, because that's normal. That's comfortable. That's where I'm used to being.
Yep.
So it's like things could be going really well, but then we unintentionally start, like, because we don't change those deep things, we don't change those identities that we have, or the relationship that we potentially have with finances or money, or who we are on like an actual identity level, that you literally just subconsciously start making decisions that put you back at that state, right? Where I had this client, and I won't say who, one of the most brilliant people I have ever met. They literally had success with everything they did, like, not even exaggerating. They grew audiences, they made sales, they launched courses, programs, offers. Everything they touched, they would do very, very well with. But there was some deeper potential like internal issues that they never dealt with. So I essentially watched them ride a roller coaster until they eventually quit. And I fucking hate to say that, but they would, make a bunch of money and do really well, and then they would, like, sabotage their business until they were struggling again, until it's like scrambling to pay my bills and I can't do this and blah blah blah, and then they would go make a bunch of money again, and then they would just do this. And my honest opinion is because they never changed, they never looked deeper. They never looked deeper at, like, what was actually happening internally or with themselves that caused them to keep doing that. And that's the work that nobody wants to do. Nobody wants to take ownership of their actions or their views or anything like that. Like, that's the hardest part of it. I understand that. But a lot of people don't like that side of it. It's like, I need to learn this tactic. I need to do this thing. But we all have, again, I think it all comes back to like my viewpoint on everything is realistically extreme ownership with everything. That's the abrasive approach that's worked really well for me. Like, hey, this might not be my fault, but what's my place in it? What could I do to fix it? Because
Yes,
only when we start taking responsibility for things, even if they aren't our fault, do we find a way to fix it.
absolutely. I think again, it's that's what I've come down to. And you guys heard me laugh when he said that, and it's because that's what my whole coaching offer is around and about, is to help people in that area of, hey, let's take accountability for this. Let's do that deeper work and figure out why we're doing this. Why am I pursuing relationships that make me feel like shit? Why do I keep getting into jobs that I hate and I let them take advantage of me? Or, all these different toxic cycles that we can get stuck in, and they show up in so many different ways. And the thing that I find fascinating is I've done a lot of this because I've needed to learn it for myself. But again, from the very beginning, it didn't take root until the reason why I first started doing all of this was because I didn't feel worthy of it. But I wanted to learn it because I wanted to give it to my family, because I was like, oh, if I can get this knowledge and give it to them, they deserve to move on. Like, it wasn't about me. And that's a shift that I had to make, is I'm getting increasingly bitter and angry because I'm gaining all this knowledge and I'm trying to help these people who don't want help. They don't fucking want it. I am making them feel worse about themselves, making them feel judged and all these other things, because I'm saying, hey, you're fucking broken. Let me take you to the hospital. And that I've learned, it's taken me longer than it probably should have to be like, oh, is it helpful? That doesn't feel good when somebody, if you're not wanting to look at something and somebody is shouting it at you and putting it in front of your face over and over again, I could see why they didn't want to take my help. I could see why that wasn't really an option. And I had to learn how to let go of that and to take my own advice and to stop like, I really just had to become that and show them. And that's when things started to shift. My mom and I had a really, really bad relationship, always fighting. She cheated on my dad a lot when I was younger. And everyone else, like, pretended like they didn't know, or everything else, and they would tell me, you just don't understand. When you get older, you understand. It's none of your business, or it's not like that, or that's not actually what's happening. So I had a lot of self-doubt, not believing myself because of all these different things as well, and just having to rebuild that self-trust, which that's my whole thing, because I think a lot of it comes down to that, is it's hard to take accountability for things if you don't trust yourself and your own experience. And you have to learn how to do those things, like, at the same time, one step here, one step here. And it's hard. It's not fucking fun. It is worth it. Like, that's why I do it. I'm obsessed with it. And so I will ask people the hard questions. This is why I love this conversation with you and being able to go deeper and talk about all of, like, I love that I was gonna just start out like up here, and you're like, nah, we're just gonna go all the way in. I'm like, fuck yeah. That's because
I wanted to go a little left field, like not just the same old business, fucking boring, I make money online shit. you know?
yeah. Well, I was like, I'll get you there. I just also, like I said, I was trying to tell Richard, like, listen, I can go not to the super hard stuff right away. But I think a lot of it is we just need an outlet and a safe space to have the conversations. I think most of us do want to talk about it. Like, we do avoid it. But if you really just sit down and have a conversation with people, if you can give it that time and space, people will talk about it. And it sometimes you just have to hear somebody else say something, which is why I'm big on this and I talk about my things. And that's what led to my mom and I's relationship becoming a healthier version of it. Is I stopped trying to make her see how much she hurt me, and I started talking about how hurt I felt just openly online and with friends of, and it had nothing to do with her like trying to take anything off of anybody else and just saying, I went through these things, I felt this way, here's what I've done to help myself feel better. And anytime anybody in my family tries to turn it back on, like, oh, so it's our fault, or oh, this, it's like, I'm not saying that, because it's not. No one gets to make me act this way. Like, I made conscious choices that get me to react in this way, and it's my responsibility to change, to either not be around if I'm going to cause issues. Like, if I'm not going to be able to manage my own emotions, that's on me. I don't get to blame you for like pulling the trigger because I'm the one who brought the gun.
Yeah.
Like, if I'm the one who walked in with a gun and knowing there's bullets and people who were going to put them in the gun for me, I don't get to get mad that all this happened. I either need to make sure that I leave that at home so it's not going to happen, or I need to just stay away. And that was really hard. That part fucking sucks, realizing like, it's me. It's not just me. I do understand that there's other pieces in this, but it is my responsibility to realize, like, if there's a bunch of matches laying in a row and this one's on fire and I'm clear back here watching it, but I don't move, if I get burned, that's my own fucking fault.
Yeah, it's like the whole saying of like, you know, we can't take responsibility for what people have done to us, but we can take responsibility for our reactions to them.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I think we it's very easy to give so much power, like people power over us. It's very easy to do, especially if you have like, you know, abandonment issues or anything like that. I think it's, you know, we put other people's feelings or thoughts a lot of the times above our own. You know, that's just like a natural codependent thing, right? Where we want to make sure everybody's good but us. And you brought up something really powerful around like trust, and like we don't trust ourselves a lot of the times. And I think it's because we break promises to ourselves more than anybody else. And I'll give you an example of this. It's like you have a friend who says, "Hey, let's go to the gym tomorrow at 9 a.m." Chances are you're probably going to go because you don't want to let your friend down. But if you tell yourself, "I'm going to go to the gym tomorrow at 9 a.m.," you might not go. Hell, you'll probably even give yourself a break. You'll give yourself leeway. You'll give yourself forgiveness. And I'm not saying to like be extremely hard on yourself 24/7, but I think a lot of us will put other people above our own. It's like people will literally, you know, your boss tells you need to come in for working overtime, and you like you'll literally put not letting your boss down on this pedestal, like over the cost of like relationships with your children, over the relationships with spouses and significant others. But when it comes to us, like, oh yeah, dude, what we tell ourselves and our words, we treat it like it doesn't matter. So I'm gonna do it today. I'm gonna do that thing I promised myself I was gonna do today. And then we don't do it. So we're literally reinforcing to ourselves in our own brain that we can't follow through on the promises we even make to us. So like logically, why would we trust ourselves if we continuously do that? If we continuously don't follow through on the words that we have in our own mind that we tell ourselves we're going to do and we don't even do it, right? So we're literally training ourselves not to believe in ourselves, training ourselves that we can't trust ourselves if we don't like. And I'm not saying it's an easy thing, but it's something we need to be aware of, that we need to like you were just saying, if we can't follow through with something or can't do it, then don't make the commitment to yourself. Right? Don't set these expectations so high that you are going to fall short every single time, because then you just end up training your brain that you can't, right? And if you can't trust you, who can, right? If you can't actually put that belief in yourself to do the thing that you said you were going to do, and this isn't just like applicable to business, it's like everything, right? It's like, and I'm not saying when you do follow through, you're going to feel like it all the time. I think that's also another thing. Like,
Oh yeah, no, I think that needs to be so debunked, because
you know,
I don't necessarily think it's a fake it till you make it thing. Like, you have to do that and it's real, but you've got to take like the weight of your emotions, and what you want to feel cannot be your fucking driver. It can't be your motivation, because it's going to feel like fucking nothing, because it's not your baseline, and it's automatically going to feel like an attack because it's not comfortable. Whether it's good for you or not, like I have a different episode somewhere if anybody wants to go deeper on this, but like change for humans is automatically bad. It doesn't fucking matter if it's positive or negative because it's different and our brains see it as an attack. It sees it as bad because it's not predictable. Regardless of if you logically know all these things, until you do it enough to show your mind and your body that it is safe and it's not going to destroy you, it's not going to feel good.
Yeah, and I think you bring up a really good point too, because I think we also need to make it a point to not necessarily. I'm not saying to like disregard feelings or emotions. Like that's not healthy. But when it comes to progressing or building a skill set or doing anything that you potentially want, like Brandy's saying, yeah, there is uncomfortable things, and there's that there's going to be that aspect. But I'm a full believer that we have to disconnect from what we think and feel from what we do, because if you let your emotions rule you, most of the time you're not going to do it, because like you want comfort, you want safe, you want. I mean, look back to like cavemen. Go find a cave and make babies and stay next to the fire. Like that's what we do. Like yeah, we go out and hunt and whatever, but like we're gonna go back to our little comfort zone. And you have to separate what you believe or think or feel sometimes from action, and especially in the beginning, it's going to be forced. You have to do it anyways. You have to. I see this a lot in business. It's like, how do you post it? Like, how do you just get the motivation to post every day? I don't. I'm not motivated every day to post. I just fucking do it. I just do the thing. Like eventually it will become habitual. That's another thing to remember. Eventually you will become on autopilot where you just do it. But we let our emotions rule so much. I think in society right now, it's like we're so emotional, and everything is so,
it's crazy.
Everything is very driven by how we feel. And like Layla Hermosi says this a lot. It's like, fuck your feelings, follow the plan, do the fucking thing. Right? You will thank yourself so much in the future if you do this. And I'll tell you right now, if you can build the discipline and the skill set to do this, you will outwork so many people. So many, and I'm not saying this to be like competitive or anything like that, but it's what it is. Most people are going, the first sign of resistance, struggle, hard time, failure, they're gone. They're already looking for the first excuse to just quit. At anything, at the gym, at their relationship, at business, at learning how to play piano, whatever the fuck it is. Most of the people will quit. I give you a fun statistics around podcasts. The top 1% of podcasts is, if you want to be in the top 1% out of all the podcasts in the world, you need to do 21 podcasts. You need to do 21 episodes to be in the top 1%.
That's crazy.
Because most people will quit before they even hit episode 21. And then if you look at
I think I've got 7 to go.
Fuck yeah. But then if you look look at Alex Hermosi or Russell Brunson or all these people who have these massive podcasts. They're like, damn man, you blew up overnight. It's like, no, I recorded episodes in my car every day on my way to work for 3 years before I even started having people listen. Do you think they wanted to keep going, or they felt like recording an episode when they pull up their screen and there's no fucking views or no listens and there's nothing happening? Do you think they were like, yeah, I'm so excited to do this? No. But they did it anyways, right? Like if you want to win at business, at life, at marriage, it's like marriage. And I'm not going to pretend to be the expert at marriage because I'm not married. But I will say this: it's like if you've been married for 5 years and you have like this weird, you have an argument, and you're just like, oh yeah, it's good, it's over. You guys get along great, and you have all these things, and like one day you just wake up and you feel like, we're not getting along today, so we should just break up. It's like, no, if you have this thing that you means something to you, then you fucking work at it. You communicate, you build, these boundaries, and you actually work on building this thing. But like so many people, especially in business, they don't treat it like that. It's a cool project. I'll get to it when I get to it. It doesn't become a priority. And I'm not saying it needs to take priority over everything, but business does need to be a priority. It has to be. And it's like so many people treat it like, I've made videos on this, which is kind of funny. It's like I watch people all the time who are like, oh, I'm not getting results. And they're like, it's like calling your boss when you're at a job and you like call your boss and you're like, hey, I can't come in today. I got to go grocery shopping. How many people have ever done that? Probably nobody, right? Like realistically, you're not going to call your boss and call in sick because you have to go get fucking groceries. But we treat showing up for ourselves or our business or fitness or whatever it is, that's how we treat it. Everything else has to take priority over, the dreams that we want to build.
Yeah. And yeah, it's hard. I think that's, again, what I appreciate about you. You talk about it often and you say it, you've said it multiple times in this podcast of like, it's not easy. And that's something that I've also said a lot is just because it's simple doesn't mean it's easy. There are a lot of things, like you break down the things that you need to do for your business, and there are simple things that need to get done. They're very easy to understand, they're very difficult to implement. That's why the Compound Effect, that's a great book and it's a really good audiobook. Atomic Habits is good too. It's got more science breakdown of it if that's what you need. I enjoy both of them. I did Atomic Habits first, but as far as like being able to implement it and the audiobook, the vibe that it gives, for me it's the Compound Effect, because he just has so much energy when he's talking to you about it, and that inspires me to keep going. It's having to remind yourself that it's these boring things that it doesn't feel like I'm doing anything. When you're doing 1% better every day, it feels like nothing. If you were to ask me last year or the year before that, I wouldn't have felt like I was doing anything. But if I look back 10 years, I'm like, I'm a whole different fucking person. 4 years ago to now is crazy. When you stick with something long enough, like I didn't get this in a job. I mean, I've had managers, but it just, because of the way that the field works and everything, I didn't really have people who were seeing the full progression of what was happening. But working with other entrepreneurs and coaches like you and my breath work coaches that I had, like my breathwork coaches were like, I've seen you go through not just like 2 transformations, but like we've seen you go through 3, 4, 5 different versions of who you are and what you're doing and the conviction that you have in what you're doing. And that only happens by sticking with it. The guys, you talk about woo woo stuff, and listen, I love woo woo stuff. I fucking hated breath work because I couldn't do it right. One, that's not the point of breath work. It's not to do it right. Like I said, I'm a good employee and shit, and I want to do stuff. If there's a way to do it, if I hear there's a way to do it, I want to do it that way, and then I'll find my own way. But I need to be able to perfect that, and it was a lot of work of letting go and just like being present and just continuing to practice and realizing my body has to get used to doing these different things and breathing deeply and allowing the pause and all of these things. And now it is like second nature. When I'm struggling, I have that tool that I didn't have before, but it took a good 6 months of doing it twice a week for like an hour at a time, twice a week. And people hear me say it all the time, and I feel like now I'm calling myself out of, I haven't changed the identity of myself, because I would say that I am not a person who follows through. That's how I view myself. I'm still working on letting that go, because I actually have been showing up to most of the group juice calls or all these other things and been pretty consistent. But my view of myself is still that person who isn't consistent enough. I started a podcast, but I haven't been as consistent as I wanted to, so therefore failure. And not saying like I'm still showing up though. I didn't give up.
Like you said, I think we look too granular though. It's like you go to an art museum, you don't put your nose on the painting and look at the painting. You don't go up to the wall and like, oh, this is a great painting, because you're not gonna be able to see shit. It's like that's how we look at our life and business. It's like we look day to day. We look at like immediate input output. It's like, oh, what did I do right this second, or what happened in the last 60 minutes that makes me a failure or not a failure? But it's like you said, we don't look big picture. We don't look 5 years, 2 years, 1 year. How much progress have you made? Like, oh, I'm not where I want to be. Well, here's the truth from somebody who's actually had a lot of financial success online. You never will be. Because what will happen is you will just set a new goal. You will just set a new milestone. You'll just set a new thing that you will tell yourself that you will find fulfillment in. Right? So it's unfair that we tell ourselves we will be happy when, I will be fulfilled when.
Oh, yeah.
Because if you do that, you're never going to actually get that fulfillment or happy or enjoyment or anything in the process, because you're just going to do it. It's like, oh, well, when I buy that new house, when I have another baby, when I make this amount of money, when I do this, then I'm going to give myself permission to be happy. And what's really fascinating to watch with a lot of entrepreneurs is a lot of them accomplish things that they already said would make them happy. So why aren't you?
Yep.
So you need to find fulfillment in the journey and in the process and in doing the thing, and try your best not to look so, and this isn't directed towards Brandy, but like just not looking so granular at it. This is one of the biggest lessons that I learned when I first started in business. It was actually not when I first started. It was after I started having success. My mentor told me, he said, hey man, whatever you do, make sure you disconnect your self-worth from the money you make, because it will change. It'll ebb and flow. There's going to be high months. There's going to be low months. And I would catch myself all the time. Oh, this launch sucked. This was horrible, because we'd hit this new milestone, and then everything else needed to be bigger than that milestone. Everything else had to be that. Otherwise, I was a failure. Otherwise, my business was breaking. Otherwise, and those are things that I still told myself, even knowing that, like, hey, it's not all going to be like that. Yeah, so we would try your best not to look, for anybody watching this, try your best not to look super granular in your day to day. Yes, do your day to day stuff, make yourself proud, make your future self proud. But I'm not telling you got to be a different person by tomorrow. Like little commitments, little progress, little things over long periods of time. And the thing to remember is, like, if the thing you're trying to get better at is hard, embrace that shit. Because if you are the person who pushes through that hard thing, that means you are going to be the very few that are left on the other side. Because most people are not going to do that. Most people are going to hit a resistance, they're going to hit a wall, and they're going to quit. They're going to tell themselves, oh, I'm not good at breath work. I'm not good at this. I can't do this. I've never done this before. I'm not comfortable. So I'm going to go back in my little fucking turtle shell and I'm not going to try. If you can push through that thing, you will come out on the other side not only a better person, but there will be very few people on the other side that you have to worry about competing with you if you're talking about on a business stamp. There was that study of, I don't remember what it was around, but it was like, if you wanted to be the top 1% at any proficiency in life, this could be martial arts, this could be piano, this could be the guitar, this could be business, it would literally take you 15 minutes a day. In the span of 12 months, if you spent 15 minutes learning for the next 12 months, you would be better than 99% of the population at that one thing that you picked. 15 minutes, a lot of people like to talk about doing stuff, but a lot of people don't like doing stuff.
Yeah.
We can look at it like, we can look at that like, this negative aspect, or use that to your advantage. I mean, not to be like a capitalistic pig or whatever you want to call it, but like use that to your, you want to be a savage, you want to be a badass, you want to have impact. I wholeheartedly believe that, like, if you can make more money, you can impact more lives. You can start nonprofits, you can give to homeless, you can do whatever you want, right? But you're not going to make this impact on the world that you genuinely want if you don't have that, right?
Yeah. And having to call yourself out on that too, because that's something I'll make your chocolate milk in 5 minutes. We have this other kind, it's already made, whatever, but she wants me to mix her chocolate milk. She wants to have it made. She doesn't want the pre-mixed chocolate milk, of course. Now I forgot what I was saying. She cracks me up. But just, it is holding on to that fact of, like, hey, I can do this. And also knowing you can push through those things and keep doing it. And this is where I found myself, is then you do have to change. Like I said, I have to change my beliefs and the way that I speak to myself, because I tell myself that I don't know these things or I'm not good at these certain things. But then all I'm doing is creating a bigger gap between myself and the person that I want to help, because I'm telling them that I'm not good enough, that I don't know these things. And then I'm talking about how breath work helps your parasympathetic nerve to help you get out of fight or flight. And if you learn how to take control of your breath and do that and trigger your parasympathetic system to calm down, then you can work with your RAS system in your brain to seek out better things so you can do positive. And they're like, what the fuck is what system and what for the brain? And it's like, oh yeah, those are terms at one point I didn't know and felt completely overwhelmed by. And the fact that I know these systems, I might not know it as well as a doctor or whatever, but I do know them enough to explain to somebody like, hey, your body does shit because of patterns that you have. You have to interrupt that and then give yourself the brain time to like digest it and change it. And that's all they need to know. They don't need to have all that sciencey background. That's for me to make me feel good and confident thinking that that's going to help people take me seriously. And that's not, I mean, realistically, that's not it. I've talked to lots of people who use all the words, but it makes no sense. So it does not help.
Yeah, you
It's
trump
never
up
helped
the
me feel
jargon to
better.
make you seem educated, right? You know, like
Yeah, I'm like, ooh, look at this for people. And then I'm just, that's for people who I'm not actually trying to help. So it's not actually, I mean, I love it. Don't get me wrong. I'm going to keep listening to 24-hour lectures of these things, but realizing that's for me and filling my brain, like it's scratching an itch that I have of my fascination and all of these things. It's not actually necessary for moving myself forward and helping people, and they don't actually need to have all that knowledge. Like I recommend, this is something that I've just recently been picking up and learning from conversations and other things of like, I have all these books and I can recommend books to people all day long, but the fact of the matter is a lot of the people that I'm talking to who want to change and to do these things that I'm speaking to don't want to read the books. They're not readers. That's not what they're doing. It would be different because then those things would, but they don't want that. What they want is to have that community, to have relationships, to work with people, to build these skills without having to do all of the books. They're not, it's not that they're unwilling to do the work. It's just that's not the way that their brain works and the way that they learn and all of those things. And realizing like, oh, but I feel like it's me holding myself back because I feel like, oh, but these people have a book though. So they're more, I need you to read their work and then I can talk to you about it because then you have someone who's worthy, documented, printed, whatever.
I mean, but if
And
you
then
also
we can work together.
if you look at that though, that's essentially you can just transfer the lessons from the books. Look at
Yeah.
teachers. Look at a teacher at a college. They're literally just passing off the information that they learned into a book. Yes, maybe you're required to read it, maybe you're not. So like even if you have clients that don't want to potentially read books or anything like that, that doesn't mean you still can't transfer that knowledge. Right? We reference
Yeah.
tons of things today from books that a lot of people probably never even read, and that's fine. Like they don't have to read it. That's why I'm the expert that you pay to help you fix your problems. We also have to remember that
Yeah. That,
people are selfish. That's all they care about. They just want to get their problem fixed. Whatever facet it is,
yeah.
whatever medium that you play or you sell products in or services or whatever, if you're in business, that's what they care about. Can you fix my problem ideally as fast as possible? Or at least does it feel that way? Right? That's been one of our cruxes is that we talk about long term, hard work, time frames, which isn't sexy. If I tell you, hey, you want to start a business, come work with me for the next 12 months. You're like, fuck, I want money tomorrow, right? Like I want to make money tomorrow. So, but yeah, I mean, don't. The other thing is like don't project limiting beliefs. The other thing is like where it's very easy to think that we need to be an expert to help people. We need to be an expert to solve problems. Like Brandy could teach me shit about breath work because she started spouting off terminology that I had no clue about. To her, I could go pay her for something for breath work and she could give me knowledge that feels basic to her because I don't understand it. Like I breathe. That's it. That's about as far as my breath work goes, you know? So like We don't have to, like, it's the easiest thing. Like, why is anybody going to listen to me? Why is anybody going to listen to me? I'm not an expert. I'm not an expert. The thing to be aware of is like who you're trying to sell your product to, or who you're trying to talk to in your marketing or your content. Like, yeah, if you're a brand new beginner and you help people build an online business, I'm not your ideal avatar. Someone who's built a 7-figure business and helped people make a lot of money online isn't your avatar. You're not going to be able to talk about the problems that I'm going through because you haven't gone through those problems yet. So you have to look backwards, right? Where were you 12 months ago? What were challenges that you were in 12 months ago that you can help people overcome? And that's with everything, right? And that'll grow with you as your business goes, as your brand grows. But yeah, trying to, yeah, see, lost my train of thought. Thanks, Brandy.
Yeah, you're welcome. I've been told that I'm very good at passing that trait on, and I think it's the funniest thing in the world where I'm like, I don't think that's it. I think I because I was talking to Richard about it. He's like, I think it's that you make people feel comfortable to not, like, there's no judgment, because I've come to this realization. It's really funny for me, and like people like me. I could be a like, that's fucking weird. Where I can actually, I do walk into a room and it is easier for people. I just had projected onto myself and thought like people don't like me. I'm not good with people, all these other things. But it was because I was nervous and scared and just over analyzing what everybody else was doing. But when I just show up and I do whatever, like it is, and a lot of that is, it's because I don't, when I'm able to show up in a space and I just show up as myself, it's, I don't have expectations for the most part. I don't have like, just be a kind person. Don't be an asshole. This interaction with you, any person that I meet, I've just very much learned like the word sonder, everybody is going through their own lives. And I have this deep understanding of, you're going through so much that anything that is happening right now is not an actual reflection of who this person is. And so I don't have this judgment or like holding people up to these things anymore. And I think that it just helps people feel more, because I'm like they're like, some people would have been really, really rude to me and whatever. And so the next time they see me, I can see they have their guard up and I'll just be like, what's up? Like, cause to let them know like, hey, I didn't take it personally. Whether you were actually upset with me for something that I did, which could be, but most of the time it's not. They were upset about something else in their lives, and it came out to me because that was the safest place, because we don't have a relationship that's like high, because, you know, it is what it is. But I will let you go. Thank you so much for talking to me for 2.5 hours. I just looked at
I
the
will say
time
the
at the
last
top.
thing is I think that's the funniest thing about how you brought that up, because that was the thing I noticed in North Carolina is how I'm not good with people. Nobody's gonna like me, and then like you're this little fucking social butterfly hanging out with everybody, talking to everybody. And it's like, what do you mean, man? Like I'm not good with people, and you're like in every conversation, like
Because other people draw me into it. I don't start conversations is the thing. That's what I've been working on. That's my thing for this year, has been like stepping into talking conversations. The wedding that I went to with Richard in California was so, like, I was so scared, because these are people that have known Richard for years. They really helped him become the person that he is today, all of these things. And I was just so scared. But I was like, I just showed up knowing that and just being like, hey, this is who I am. Just telling Richard, like, I'm not going to be. So I wore my nice dress. I wore heels that I knew I was going to not be wearing those the whole fucking time. And knowing it was going to rub Richard the wrong way, and just being like, well, it is what it is.
you just said, Richard, will you put them on? You wear them then.
Yeah. He's like, well, did you bring you can go get your shoes, you could do whatever. And I was like, I don't care that I'm barefoot. We're in California. It's 70 degrees. And then other people did it too. And so it was whatever. Everybody else was fine. His was more just the, worry that it was going to offend somebody else and all these other things too, which, like, honestly, I've
So
never
how
really
many other women
given a
took their high
shit.
heels off because you took your high heel off?
But yeah, at least two or
Yeah,
three. And then
yeah.
also just, then also walk, like, people just relaxing and being like, because I'm walking around, I then have no shoes, I'm carrying my shoes, my hair is a mess, and I'm laughing loudly, I'm asking questions that sometimes people wouldn't ask, of just like,
because you know
Hey, I see you're upset.
every
Yes.
fucking
I'm like,
every woman in that room is like, dude, I want to fucking take these heels off, and then they're like, oh, Brandon, take them off. I'm
yes.
taking
And
them
they're
off.
like,
Taking them off.
yeah, and I don't want to be judged. I don't want to be the one who's judged, or I want to do this, like making it so less high stakes of like, hey, dude, it's cool. Like, it's just clothes. At the end of the day, I get that some people, and I'm like, yeah, okay, we have our elders who are here. There's the formal setting, whatever. I can play the game when we need to, but as soon as it comes to that point where we're doing whatever, yeah,
Yeah, taking them off.
let me do whatever. And I did karaoke I've done karaoke before, but this is the first time I sang two songs that have been on my list for so long. I was like, yeah.
You sung "She
Was
Bang"
it
by William
great? Did I
Hung.
get an encore? Absolutely not.
You
Huh?
sung "She Bang" by William Hung.
Oh my God, that would be hilarious. I sang Blue by Should Know, but I don't remember. I think it's Patsy Cline.
Okay.
3 o'clock in the morning. I've loved that song for my entire life, but it is a very particular song, and pretty much nobody does covers of it because it is so hard. But I just was like, it doesn't matter. This is for me, and this is like, I know it's not going to be the greatest song ever. And then there were like 3 or 4 people who wanted to do karaoke who were too scared, who then went up and did it, and I was like, this is what it's about.
Yeah.
But I appreciate that. I'm just like you. I'm not good at accepting compliments. I don't like it. It feels funky. Yeah, it's like, this feels wrong. Only dads. Hell
Little
yeah.
fatty.
That's amazing. I didn't even notice that it's got a cap on it too. That's fantastic.
That's how you know my daughter is the funniest ever, because she's like, "Hey, Dad, I got you a shirt." My daughter got
That's
me this shirt.
fantastic. That's so funny. Oh my!
And
She's
she's my child. She's definitely my child, because now she's working. She's wearing all these T-shirts. That the shirt she wore today, she's like, "Snacks are my love language."
I'm excited for whatever Aries. Amara is already. She's the older she gets, the funnier it's gonna get, because she is the one with that personality. Whereas Aries has the type of where he doesn't care. He puts his pants on backwards and it's just like, does it matter? Like, I don't care. He doesn't pay attention to anything. He's like, whatever.
You got those big pockets
Cool?
in the front now. It works out.
I know. When he was pointing out some of the stuff with that, I was like, I hate that. I understand that you're not wrong, and I don't care. I'll send you to. I'm just telling you, school's gonna make you turn him around too, just because. And he goes, "Why?" I was like, I'm not the right person to ask these questions to. I think the way that we don't. You're gonna get me on a tangent, Aries. Just clothes. Yeah, you gotta wear them the way they make them. I know. That's just the way they go. But thank you so much.
Heck yeah! Thanks for having me. Hopefully, I hope to my heart that my microphone didn't cut off like halfway through, because that would suck.
It's popping up. I can see the green. So the only thing that I'm gonna have to figure out is for editing, because it said it switched over to another track, so I haven't had that.
So you have two audio. You'll have two audio.
The techie side. Yeah. So just as long as I'm pretty sure since it's all on the same timeline, I shouldn't have to line it up. But like I said, thank goodness for the text transcribe stuff that I can just figure out where you're talking and easily splice it in if I have to.
Yeah, it should be good. I don't know. And then it didn't let me switch back to my other mic, so hopefully it's good. It's good hanging out. Tried not to just do business BS, because that's no fun. Try to let people see another side of a good old Nate.
Yeah, I know. I thought you were gonna tear up there for a second. I was like, oh, I get him. I think that would have been the funniest thing. I could totally make thumbnails just for Jeanette to send to her, like,
do it.
Getting your mentor to cry. You'll never believe.
I'll create a photo of me with crying. I'll make it super realistic.
Do it. Yes. Oh yes. Oh, I'm so excited. Yes, I'm gonna make it. All right,
Brandy.
Go make some chocolate milk.
Bye.
Bye. Have a good night.
You too.